All right, so we've got our campaigns. We know we're going to target brand awareness and consideration. And now we need to choose the audiences or the ad sets, if we're going to use Facebook terminology, the audiences that we're going to target our ads to. So who are the people? Where are they? What are they interested in? So let's jump in and have a quick look at this. So here's a few audiences I've sort of pre-picked out that fit within our brand awareness and consideration campaigns, and I'm going to show you how to think about how you actually choose them. So the first one I've got here under brand awareness is Gen Y Fun and Friends, I've called it. I've just named it anything, but you are going to have to name it in Facebook, so it's worth just giving it a name now. And I would encourage you to, before you even log into Facebook and the Facebook ads platform, to think about these things, which is those three levels: the campaign, the ad sets, and the ads, and literally write them down and write down their names and map them like this prior to even jumping into Facebook. And that'll give you a lot of clarity when you get into Facebook about how to actually structure the campaigns, ad sets, and ads when you're setting up your ads. That'll make more sense a little bit later when I show you the Facebook ads platform and we actually start setting up a few ads ourselves. So this first audience, Gen Y Fun and Friends, I'm going to target within 60 kilometers of the region. Now I'm using Geelong Winery Tours as the business again. That's my dad's business, so I feel like I can be helpful to him, and I also feel like I understand the business and the region really well and can give you some really practical insights into seeing real business data and choosing real audiences for a business in tourism. So I'm choosing within 40 kilometers of the region. That's going to be within 40 kilometers of Geelong, 25 to 40 years old. You can see here that I've got other audiences. This one is 40 plus, this one's anything 25 plus. Generally, you're trying to pick a mix of location, demographic, interests, and detailed targeting, which build an audience of a certain size. So you'll see in Facebook when we jump in there, as you tweak these things, your potential audience size is going to go up and down. Now, there's no point having a potential audience size of 100 people where one person a day is going to see your ad and they're maybe going to take action. They may take action or no action because nobody's really going to be hearing from you or listening, and there's a very small chance of a decent result. What you really want to be targeting is audiences of a significant enough size for the type of product or service you're selling to give you a chance to actually get through your budget, because let's be honest, you do want to spend your budget, you just want to do it effectively, but make sure that you actually get through your budget and give yourself a chance at some results. Having an audience that's too tightly defined, too narrow, is going to give you no chance to spend your budget, which gives you no chance of actually seeing results with this platform. So 25 to 40 years old, we're going to choose all genders, doesn't really matter. And they're going to be interested in things like fun with friends, events. They're going to be online shoppers, and they might have a bit of the traveler bug in them. So they're just a few of the qualifiers, or the detailed targeting that we're going to use for this particular audience. The next audience I've chosen for brand awareness is just couples with kids. So you can see here, and the final one being someone with an upcoming birthday, you can see they're very different audiences. So for each of those audiences, when we come back up here, if that was couples with kids, if that was upcoming birthday, you can see how it actually defines the ads themselves. We know that we're not going to say the same thing to a couple as we are to somebody that has an upcoming birthday. So once you start setting up these audiences, understanding why you're choosing who you're choosing to target, it helps you actually get some clarity about what ads do I set up and what do I want to say to those people in the ads. So couples with kids, sorry, we're going to jump back into that. Couples with kids, so 40 plus, I'm going all genders. There's actually targeting in Facebook which allows us to target parents and parents of kids of certain ages. This is just going to be parents of kids, full stop. They have a disposable income, so we should be able to access that through the demographics financial. We'll see when we get there. But at the moment, we're basically just spitballing. We're throwing out ideas about detailed targeting of the type of person, the archetype that we want to target. And they're interested in food and wine. You can see that we've got here for the couples with kids. I think that's probably going to be broad enough that we're not going to go too tight, too narrow on the audience that we're going to lose a significant enough size to advertise to. So we'll leave it in there until we actually jump into the platform and start getting a bit of a feel for the audience size while using all those qualifiers. So that's the second audience under brand awareness. The third audience is upcoming birthdays. So this might blow your mind a little bit, but this is where Facebook has arguably the best data source and knows the most about us. Whether that's good or bad, it's up for that's not a discussion for today. But we're going to target people with upcoming birthdays. I haven't gotten too specific about that. I honestly don't even know if Facebook allows us to do 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it might be, and how that's going to affect, again, that ad set size. But I've just put, like, they've got an upcoming birthday, they're 25 plus years old, all genders, and they're interested in food and wine, which, to be honest, should leave us with a pretty decent size audience, even though it's only within 40 kilometers of this region or yours. I may just add here, if you're working in a smaller region, which has a smaller population, you might actually have to expand the scope of that from say a 40 kilometer range to maybe an 80 kilometer range. If you're down in somewhere like Warrnambool, where in Victoria, where there's maybe like something like more like a permanent population of 30,000, you might, as opposed to Geelong's 250, you might have to expand that out a little bit further so you can capture a larger potential audience to advertise to. Now, in consideration, we've got couples with kids again. I'm probably going to use exactly the same audience for that as I did with brand awareness. Now, the difference is what we're going to be saying to them and the calls to action on the posts themselves. That'll make more sense in a sec when I show you something, and we're going to go to the next slide. And the final audience for consideration is going to be the engaged audience. So this is someone that's already engaged with us on Facebook or on our website, and I'm going to show you how to identify that. And they already live in the region. So let's assume that we're not going to be traveling that far for a little while. So they're going to be already in the region and they've engaged with us on Facebook or on the website. So you can see here, this engaged audience is a very different audience to potentially any of these. This engaged audience, they probably already know, like, and or trust us. This audience over here, the brand awareness, they may know nothing about our business. So it's up to you to make them aware of your business. Over here, they already know about our business, so we don't need to make them aware. We just need to try and move them, influence them to move through this customer journey. So they're potentially already here, or they may even be already here, and we want to just bring them back into the front of the funnel. All right. So that's our audiences or our ad sets. Now, bearing in mind, we come back here, think of these layers. One's your campaign layer. We went through that, which maps back to our stages in the customer journey. The ad sets or the audiences are these who we want to be talking to. And then inside each of those are the ads. So what we want to do here in brand awareness, we want likes and comments. So we want to encourage people. We want to say things and do things that encourages people to engage with our posts. In consideration, we want people to click it. We want traffic to our website, to our landing page, to our online store, whatever it might be, but we actually want people to click through to the website. So we've got a chance at conversion. At the very least, we're going to be building an audience via the Facebook Pixel, which I'll mention later, to potentially use that audience later. But you can see how they're completely different. On one side, we want likes and comments, so we need to use language that's engaging and encouraging engagement. On the other side, we're trying to use language that's potentially sort of like moving people to take more action. So under each of these, let's have a quick look at a few of those ideas that I put down. And keep it just I'll mention now, I'm going to try and put together a bunch of ideas for different segments in the tourism industry. I'll leave a button on the course itself that says sign up for extra ideas or for extra ad ideas, which will probably include just a little drop down to select your industry. So then you can tell me what industry you're in, and I'll flick out a PDF that contains a whole bunch of ad ideas for your specific industry, which hopefully will give you a bit of a starting help. So I'll get that done as soon as possible. Hopefully by the time you're on this course, it is done and it's available. But let's jump into each of these. Pardon me. Let's jump into each of these ad sets. So this is our audiences, and this, where I've said ads, this is the ad copy. So there's a couple of places in Facebook where you choose your ad copy. One's your headline, one's your description, and one's a little text underneath the description. So I've written down a few, and in Facebook, when we start actually setting up the ads, we're going to mix these up. So you're never going to nail, well, you might not, you're probably not, but if you're lucky, you will. You're never going to nail the exact combination of copy for a headline, a description, a call to action, and the image that is like the premium best performer that you could ever possibly have put together. So what you want to do is be running a combination of different ads that tests a few things, test subject lines or test headings. So over time, you get a bit of an idea about what people respond to. Facebook has inbuilt tools in Ads Manager that allows you to sort of like measure that. But for the most part, you're going to know through your engagement and your click-throughs. So under Gen Y, Fun and Friends, we're going to be using terminology like, where are you looking forward to going with friends? So again, we're using language where we're encouraging engagement. Which local winery are you missing most? Who do you know that desperately needs a winery date with you? So these are just a few things that, a few ideas that have come to mind. We reckon we've got the best region in Australia. I'm hoping people argue with that either way, at least to get engagement. But also you can see here, we can't wait to start exploring the Geelong and Bellarine region again. Where possible, particularly if you're targeting a local audience, if you can use the words, if you can use your destination itself, it tells people immediately that the ad is specific to them. So they're not just scrolling through. You've got a better chance of stopping them as they're scrolling through because there's a relevance there. There's an immediate relevance. So jumping into couples with kids, some of the terminology that we're going to use there, or headings and subject lines, is two of the wineries, Geelong and the Bellarine. Again, hitting straight into that, where the audience is located. Dreaming of some time for yourself and your partner. Discover the wineries of the region you know you'll need to, etc. Or you can pause the video if you like and have a bit of a read through this, and we'll also come back to it in once we start setting up the ads in Facebook Ads Manager. So I'm not going to go through and read each of them. Over in here, where we wanted people to click, and that was within the campaign consideration. Say, for example, we've got a couples with kids audience. You might use terms like, headlines or subjects such as book a dreamy afternoon winery tour for yourself and your partner. View tour options. You know, you're going to start to use some of that call to action language that's recommending they take an action and they do something. Not necessarily the engagement language across here in brand awareness. So that's just recapping. So when you're thinking, let's go up to the top, just recapping, when you're considering setting up your Facebook ads, you want to think about where somebody is in their customer journey, which should lead your thinking behind the audiences that you choose, but also the ads themselves. So again, recapping, Facebook directly correlates their ad types and campaign objectives with these stages in the customer journey. So brand awareness, consideration, conversion will all map to options that you've got when you start setting up your Facebook ads in Ads Manager for those types of ads. More than anything, can I recommend that you sit down and draw this out before you even step into Facebook ads. Know what your campaign objective is. Brand awareness is going to be something like reach. Consideration is going to be something like traffic to your website. My apologies. Who your audiences are. Choose your audiences. Literally write them down. So inside brand awareness, we might have multiple audiences. Inside consideration, we might have multiple audiences. And then inside each of the audiences, we're going to have multiple ads. So that's a bit of an introduction into how to think about your Facebook ads, how to structure them in terms of campaigns, audiences, and ads themselves. The next step is to start getting familiar with the Facebook ads platform so you can start setting up the ads themselves. And that is what we're going to do next.